Hello again, Knights fans, and welcome to the 9th edition of the 2016 Knights Baseball Roundup. As always, I'm Tommy Mead here with head coach Gary Puccio. Coach, you had a 6-game road trip last week, so we didn't do a show. So it's been a little bit since we've had one. 12 games, 6-6 over that time, 4-4 in conference. 3-1 versus Mount St. Mary's this past weekend, 1-3 versus Bryant the weekend before, and then 2-2 in non-conference action also. Let's go back to the beginning. The first game that we missed, the first game since we did our show was Siena, which was a huge comeback victory for your team. What did you see that night and just out of the fight in your team that game?
Yeah, I think we were down 6-1 early in that game and scored 9 runs in the last 3 innings to win the game, which was impressive. And the kids were hitting the ball pretty well. I mean, during the past week and a half, we've been hitting pretty well, so that had a lot to do with it that day. And it was just a good win playing at home. I mean, we got to keep getting fat at home. That's the name of the game.
Moving forward, that weekend you took on the Bryant Bulldogs right here at the Moley Family Baseball Complex. One of the games that really stands out, a 10-3 victory in the second game of the series. Chris Cashmore did something that nobody else in the NEC has done this year, and that's beat Bryant. He was honored with the NEC Pitcher of the Week award. He's already been Rookie of the Week once, having a great season. What did you see out of him in that game?
You know, Chris is, I've said this from day one, Chris is going to be a stud here. He's going to be a big-time pitcher for us, and all he did was go out and prove that game was a 10-0 game. We had the third out. He was pitching a shutout in his last inning, and we threw a ball away. And he was up at about 110 pitches. So once that happened, I yanked him. He's been dynamite. He's 5-1 now overall. The kid's just pitching super, and we expect big things out of him. And beating Bryant, it says a lot for him, and it says a lot for our program because we also took Bryant extra innings the next day. So we gave them 2 very good games in a league where they have pretty much dominated everybody. So good sign if we're in the playoffs that we have a shot with them.
Now you mentioned that third game of the series where you actually came back again. Team was down 8-3. Dylan Sprague sets up, hits a grand slam to cut it to 1 run. Bryant tacks on an insurance run in the top of the 7th, but then right away in the bottom half of the 7th inning, Joel Roman with a 2-run double to tie the game. Your team had a chance to take the lead then, to win the game, and then another chance in extra innings. What do you see out of the fight in your team right now?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the guys after that because Joel doubled, and obviously we had pressure on them. We had tied the game, and the next 2 guys both struck out on bad pitches, curveball in the dirt and stuff. And, we try to talk to them always about situations and what you should be looking for in that situation. And I told them that as long as first base was open, Brian was able to throw the pitch they wanted to throw. And we had to be smart enough to take some of those pitches so that we get that walk. And now they're forced to have to face someone. And I think the inexperience, because we had a sophomore and a freshman hitting in those 2 spots, and I think that inexperience probably hurt us a little bit in that game. As far as the fight, I mean, these guys come to play. I mean, there's very few games where we've been blown out all year, and most of the time when that happens, it seems to be a pitcher just having a really off day or, hadn't pitched in a while and their control isn't there. So for the most part, we've been very competitive, and these kids know how to win. They've been to the playoffs, they know how to win, and I got a good feeling about the rest of the season.
So after the Bryant series, you went down to Maryland for a 6-game road trip, the first 2 non-conference play at Coppin State. You dropped a game on Tuesday, then on Wednesday. Now, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, but Wednesday's game was the wildest one I've ever seen, a 35-24 victory. It was your 100th win here as the head coach at FDU, only the 4th coach to do that at FDU, so congratulations to you. What did you see out of those 2 games, particularly that 35-24 game?
I'd almost give up that 100th win for that day just to get out of that cold. I mean, it was a 5-hour and 5-minute game. It was incredible. Nothing went right. I mean, everybody just hit, no matter who you brought in to pitch for them or for us. Just innings never ended. It was the most incredible game I've ever been a part of. I believe it's the second most amount of runs scored between both teams in NCAA history, and it's the most since the BB Core era. So it was a wild, wild game. And we even brought in starting pitchers. I think Flack, Corian, and Cashmore all pitched in each, and the best of the 3 gave up 3 runs. It was just one of those days where it was just an incredible game. It was just a weird game to be a part of. So, but I'll take the W, 35-24. Score 24 runs and lose is a pretty tough thing to do.
Most runs ever scored in a game by an FDU team also. Offense carried that over into Friday's action at Mount St. Mary's, a 17-2 victory. The bats were clicking, especially Ryan Brennan this week. He showed off a lot of power, also speed on the bases. What have you seen from him since he's been back from the injury?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. He's back from the injury. He's healthy again. And, Ryan's one of our main guys, and he's been a main guy since the day he's been here, and we expect him to continue being a main guy. It's great that he's a junior, that he's still back for another year. Very impressed with him as a player and just the way he plays. He just gives you 110%. In fact, he dove into first base in the Coppin State game when we were up 35-24 in the ninth inning. He dove back into first base on a pickoff, and I pulled him out immediately and said, this is what we're talking about. We don't need to be doing this at 35-24 with 2 out in the ninth, But it's just the way he plays. These guys play hard, and they've been taught to play hard from the time they were little kids. I don't take any credit for that. We're just smart enough to go get kids that play hard, and together as a unit, that seems to be producing for us. And he's been a very major contributor to the team, and not to mention he's got 6 or 7 saves for us too.
After Friday's win, you won 2 more games at Mount St. Mary's, but the story of the weekend really became the pitching. The offense cooled off a little bit. The starting pitching did not. The 17-2 game, you put Timmy Quinn in the starting rotation for this weekend, and he delivered big time with 7 quality innings. Why'd you make that move?
Well, Timmy's been pitching great in relief for us. He's been really doing a great job. Had a good outing against Sacred Heart, good outing in relief against other teams. So I felt he deserved a shot, and Flack's been hurting a little bit, so it was a chance to give Flack a little bit of a rest and give Timmy a chance to see what he can do. And obviously he did great. We're very happy with him, and he'll continue to stay out there right now because I'll tell you what, if you end up with Cashmore, Zeller, and Quinn out of that freshman class as pitchers, that alone, before you even get to any of the other pitchers, that alone makes it a terrific class.
You mentioned Cashmore. He delivered again this past weekend. Another 7-inning performance for him in those Saturday doubleheader games. How big is it for you to get complete games out of Cashmore in those games?
Yeah, the 7-inning games, that's the one nice thing is Corey and him both tend to get us to at least the 5th or 6th inning, and that helps save the bullpen. So that's a major plus for us. And Chris has just been outstanding, been very consistent. I've talked to him about cutting down the walks a little bit. That's the only thing that I think, his walk total is a little bit high, but when you compare it to, he's still got an over 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, but, trying to get him up in Logan's territory, which is more like 4 or 5-to-1. So if he just cuts down on that a little bit, I think this kid's a stud in this program for the next 3 years.
Now you mentioned it, Logan Fratty's strikeout to walk ratio was 6-to-1 on Sunday when he delivered a 9-inning complete game shutout, his 3rd of the season. Is there anything else to say about him besides he's just a great pitcher?
Yeah, I got on him the 1 week against Bryant because he obviously didn't pitch well against Bryant. And I said, see, I think he's won pitcher of the week 3 times this year, and that week he didn't, so Cashmore took it. It was pretty cool. We actually have 2 kids that legitimately, legitimate candidates for pitcher of the year and rookie of the year, and that just says a lot about where the program's heading. That we're getting better kids, we're getting better players. Guys obviously developing. I remember Logan when he was a freshman. After like 4 or 5 appearances, he had like a 10 ERA. But Logan's one of the brightest kids I've ever coached, and he picks up right away. And even last Sunday, I saw something in his mechanics when he started the game, and we talked about it, and boom, he corrects things so easily and so quickly because he's just a real smart kid and a great competitor, and it's nice to have him on our side.
As you move forward here, you played a non-conference game against NJIT last night, a setback 14-3. Some good things early on. You let up a little bit with the 9-run 7th inning. What do you measure those non-conference games as this late in the year?
Yeah, it's so tough because you want to create momentum in the conference and everything, but you also want to give other guys a chance to play. And in non-conference games, Shane didn't play and Pat didn't play and Brennan DH, so Joel didn't play. 3-4 starters took the night off, and that's kind of how we want it for that kind of game, give other kids a chance. And the game was a 5-3 game going to the 7th inning, so it was a good game. And then we kind of just fell apart a little bit. Again, non-conference, you're using all your pitchers and you're using other kids. And, mostly it's freshmen, so they got to learn and they got to step up. And I thought we made one of the things that hurt us in that game was it was a 3-3 tie, and Evan Lane gave up an 0-2 double with 2 men on, with 2 out. And, like the kid hit the ball to the fence, and that can't happen on an 0-2 pitch. So it's a learning experience. It's stuff we've talked about, and they're freshmen. So, that's when they learn. Hopefully they remember, And I know, like, Logan talked to him and has talked to other kids about that, too, about freshman year, him giving up 0-2 hits and stuff. You learn. You learn how to become a pitcher. You learn how to become a Division I baseball player because that's what part of it is about. And as they learn, they get better. It's like I tell Evan McDonald when he's hitting that you got to be prepared for them. If they get you out a certain way, you got to remember that next time up, that this is how they pitch to you, so that it's a thinking game at this level too, and they have to start. The thinking part doesn't really happen too much in high school, so it's definitely a learning experience.
As we sit here today, you're 18-18 on the season, 8-7 in the conference, in 3rd place right now. 1 game up on Central Connecticut, or excuse me, 1.5 games up on Central Connecticut and 3 games up on Wagner. You play the Seahawks in 2 weeks, but this weekend's opponent is the Sacred Heart Pioneers. Before we talk about them, let's talk about Sunday. We've mentioned it a few times, but on April 24th, the Sunday game against Sacred Heart, before the game, there'll be an alumni event where we'll be honoring all of the members of the FDU Knights baseball program who played for Coach Harvey Woods. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, from what I understand, we're going to introduce them all before the game, and we have at least 10 that have committed to coming. They're definitely coming that weekend from that era, including a couple of guys I've never met already that I saw their names as committing to coming, and that's a good thing because it helps get them back involved in their old program. And when you think about they played here 60 years ago, it's mind-boggling. One of the things we do want to do also is recognize Fred Rodell, who has told us he'll be coming. He's the man that donated the dugouts to us for when the Moley Family Complex was built. So we're really looking forward to having him here. It's the first time he'll be here since the dugouts were built. And plan to honor him a little bit and also honor all these great alumni who had a rich tradition of winning back then. And hopefully, they get to see Logan that day. So hopefully Logan can put on a decent game for him too.
Now, as you mentioned, all of these gentlemen coming back that will be honored played here prior to 1966. Are you going to mention anything to the guys on the current players on your team right now about what it's like or what they should be looking at when they talk to someone who played here 60 years ago?
Yeah, Bobby Manisano still walks around with a limp from tripping in left field when they had a drainage problem here back in the 60s. So, it's incredible. So, part of what you did here as a college player sticks with you the rest of your life sometimes. And yeah, most of our guys, because of the adopted player program, a lot of the 60s guys are involved in that, and some of the 50 guys like Frank Gilbert too. So there's been a good rapport between a lot of our players and the alumni, especially from that era. And obviously John Bittman is the head of our Alumni Association. He does a phenomenal job of getting the alumni out here. So, it should be a good day, and obviously the kids will interact with them. We're having a breakfast beforehand. And I'm sure the kids will be interacting with them during that, and hopefully, like I said, play a good game and, hopefully keep moving forward towards a playoff position.
Now, an interesting thing with the unbalanced schedule this year in the NEC, you've already played Sacred Heart once. You're 1-2 against them, and you host them again this weekend. Is there anything different that you'll expect out of them, maybe some adjustments or any adjustments that you'll make going into this weekend?
Well, we were pretty banged up the first time we played them, so that's not to make any excuses because Sacred Heart obviously is a good team and they've beaten me pretty consistently over the 6 years I've been here. So, but I do feel like we're going to put a better product on the field against them this weekend, and we'll see if that means anything.
All right, Coach, thank you very much for your time. Fans, you can follow the action by coming out here to the Nemoli Family Baseball Complex this weekend for the 4-game series or by watching the games live on NEC Front Row.